Welcome to True Crime Headline News. Tonight, we are tracking 15 verified headlines. The developments span coast to coast.
In California, the Department of Justice is investigating two separate officer-involved shootings, one in Los Angeles and another in Alpine. Meanwhile, federal authorities in Chicago have arrested a man for allegedly shooting at Border Patrol agents.
We are also following a major legal conclusion in Oregon where a man has been sentenced to 3 decades for plotting a mass shooting. And in Lake County, Illinois, 2 individuals were arrested in connection with an alleged murder-for-hire shooting.
We are focusing only on the established facts from official sources and vetted reports. I'm Jessica Reed.
And I'm Chris Adams. These are the critical developments.
The California Department of Justice has initiated an independent investigation into a fatal officer-involved shooting that occurred in Los Angeles, California. The incident took place on Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, at approximately 11:50 a.m. According to a preliminary press release from the Los Angeles Police Department, uniformed officers from the Southeast Patrol Division responded to a call regarding an assault with a deadly weapon. The call was recorded near a residence in the 10,300 block of Kalmia Street.
The comments associated with the dispatch call indicated that the suspect was allegedly using wires as a whip and attempting to hit passersby. Upon their arrival, officers observed the suspect, later identified as 56-year-old Hugo Polanco, holding what was described as a cluster of metal wires approximately 7.5 feet in length. The responding officers ordered Mr. Polanco to drop the weapon. Authorities report that he initially complied with the command, but then picked the item up again. At that point, one officer deployed a 40mm less lethal launcher.
According to the official report, Mr. Polanco then gripped the wires with both hands and charged at an officer, bringing the weapon over his shoulder in what was described as a whipping motion. An officer fired additional 40mm less lethal rounds, which were reported as ineffective. An officer-involved shooting subsequently occurred. Mr. Polanco was struck by gunfire and taken into custody. Los Angeles Fire Department personnel arrived at the scene and transported him to a local hospital, where he was later pronounced deceased. No officers or other community members were injured during the incident. The cluster of wires was recovered at the scene and booked as evidence.
The Los Angeles Police Department's Force Investigation Division is conducting its own investigation, and the department emphasized that its understanding of the facts and circumstances may change as the investigation evolves. Concurrently, the California Department of Justice announced its independent review pursuant to Assembly Bill 1506. This state law mandates that the Attorney General's office investigate all officer-involved shootings that result in the death of an unarmed civilian. The California Department of Justice's California Police Shooting Investigation Team initiated its investigation following notification by local authorities. Upon completion, the state's investigation will be turned over to the Department of Justice's Special Prosecutions Section within the Criminal Law Division for an independent review of the incident.
Police in San Francisco, California, are investigating a shooting that occurred on the night of Saturday, November 8th, 2025, which left 5 individuals wounded, one of them seriously. Officers responded to reports of gunfire around 9 p.m. in the city's outer Richmond neighborhood. The incident took place near a Safeway supermarket. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found multiple victims.
According to a statement from the San Francisco Police Department, the victims included one adult man who had sustained life-threatening injuries and 4 juveniles who had sustained non-life-threatening injuries. All 5 individuals were transported to a hospital for medical treatment. As of the latest reports, no arrests have been made in connection with the shooting, and investigators have not released information describing any potential suspects. Police Captain Kevin Lee, speaking at the scene, informed the San Francisco Chronicle that the shooting appeared to have stemmed from a fight. Authorities have stated that the attack seems to be an isolated incident, and they do not believe there is an ongoing danger to the general public.
The incident caused disruption in the area, which borders Golden Gate Park. One witness, 19-year-old Tommy Corcoran, told the Chronicle that he was walking in the park when he heard sounds he initially thought were a car backfiring. He then heard a flurry of gunfire and saw people scattering, with some running toward the supermarket. Mr. Corcoran reported hiding behind a log until the activity subsided.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie issued a statement addressing the violence, saying this kind of violence does not represent who we are as a city, and we will never tolerate it. The investigation is active and ongoing. San Francisco detectives are urging any witnesses or individuals who may have information about the incident or the preceding altercation to contact the police department's tip line. The department continues to gather evidence and review any available surveillance footage from the surrounding area to identify the individuals responsible for the shooting. The Outer Richmond is a residential and commercial area in the northwest corner of the city, known for its proximity to the park and Ocean Beach.
Authorities in Lake County, Illinois, announced on Saturday, November 8, 2025, that 2 individuals had been arrested in connection with an alleged murder-for-hire shooting that left a man in extremely critical condition. The incident itself occurred earlier in the week, anchoring this new development. On Wednesday, November 5th, just before 6 a.m., Lake County Sheriff's deputies were notified by Waukegan Police that a shooting victim had been taken to a local hospital.
The victim, identified as a 46-year-old man from Beach Park, was reportedly shot just outside his home in the 38,400 block of North Sheridan Road at approximately 5:20 a.m. Authorities stated the victim was shot while he was inside his vehicle just before he was about to leave for work. A relative who was present at the home drove the victim to the Vista East Medical Center. Due to the severity of his injuries, he was subsequently flown to a Level 1 trauma center, where he remains hospitalized in extremely critical condition.
During the investigation, sheriff's detectives identified a suspicious vehicle that was seen slowly driving through the area on Tuesday, November 4th, the day before the shooting. Detectives located this vehicle on neighborhood video surveillance and utilized the Flock Safety license plate reader network, which confirmed the same vehicle was also in the area at the time of the shooting on November 5th. This information led authorities to Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, where the vehicle's registered owner was believed to live.
On Thursday, November 6th, police in Mount Pleasant located the vehicle's owner, identified as 28-year-old Christian Ruvalcaba-Torres, and took him into custody during a traffic stop. Lake County detectives reported that after questioning, they determined Ruvalcaba-Torres was responsible for the shooting. They also recovered evidence, including the firearm believed to have been used and a telephone, indicating that Ruvalcaba-Torres had allegedly been hired by another individual to shoot and kill the victim.
Following this, detectives located the individual alleged to have hired the shooter on Thursday afternoon around 1:30 p.m. in North Chicago. That person was also taken into custody with charges pending. The Lake County State's Attorney's Office has approved charges of attempted first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and aggravated discharge of a firearm against Christian Ruvalcaba-Torres. He is currently held in Wisconsin, pending extradition to Lake County.
The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department in Tennessee announced a significant arrest in an investigation involving a violent attack on a woman in the Germantown neighborhood. On Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, Special Victims Detectives arrested 29-year-old Joquarius Williams, who is listed as a convicted sex offender. He faces charges of attempted murder and robbery for the attack, which occurred on the night of November 5th.
According to the police report, the 25-year-old victim was walking home from a concert at the Bridgestone Arena when she noticed a man following her from a distance on 3rd Avenue North. When she arrived at her apartment building in the Germantown area and opened the lobby door, the man asked her to hold the door for him, which she did. The 2 individuals then entered the elevator together. Authorities state that once inside the elevator, the man grabbed the victim from behind by the neck and said he was going to kill her.
The victim reported losing consciousness briefly due to strangulation. When she regained consciousness, the man was on top of her. The victim managed to break free and run away from her attacker when the elevator door opened. The suspect fled, taking the victim's keys and cell phone. Responding officers later recovered these items outside the apartment building and processed them for evidence.
The identification of Williams as the suspect was the result of analysis by the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department Crime Laboratory. Fingerprint evidence developed by officers from the recovered items led directly to Williams. Following this forensic identification, the victim subsequently identified Williams from a photo lineup.
The police department's release noted Williams' prior criminal history. He was previously convicted of aggravated assault and attempted forcible rape in connection with an August 2019 incident involving a 27-year-old woman at a different apartment complex. For that conviction, he was sentenced to probation and was required to register on Tennessee's sex offender registry. Authorities have indicated that probation violation warrants are also expected to be filed against him by the state. Following his arrest on November 11th, a judicial commissioner set bond for Joquarius Williams at $10.1 million. The investigation remains active, and detectives are processing all information related to the case.
An incident at a mall in Baltimore County, Maryland, has resulted in the arrest of 4 juveniles, one of whom is now facing adult charges, including attempted murder. The event occurred on Saturday night, November 8, 2025, at the Towson Town Center. Baltimore County police officers responded to the mall at approximately 8 p.m. for a reported stabbing. Dispatch audio reviewed by local media indicated the incident happened outside a shoe store on the mall's second floor.
Responding officers later arrested 4 teenagers, ranging in age from 14 to 17, at a nearby intersection on Dulaney Valley Road and Fairmount Avenue. Authorities described the incident as an assault and robbery of a group of teens. Police confirmed they recovered stolen items when the arrests were made.
While the initial call was for a stabbing, police clarified that one of the victims, a teenager, had suffered lacerations. The investigation determined that one of the suspects allegedly used a screwdriver during the assault. Following the arrests, 3 of the juveniles were released to their parents. However, the 4th suspect, a 15-year-old, was charged as an adult. On Monday, November 10th, this suspect was ordered by court officials to be held without bond at the Baltimore County Detention Center. The charges filed against him include attempted murder, assault, armed robbery, and theft. Testimony during the court hearing on Monday alleged that the teen hit the victim in the head twice with the screwdriver.
The Baltimore County Police Department stated that it will be working closely with security personnel at the Towson Town Center to ensure that the mall's parental guidance policy is being adhered to. This policy typically requires younger visitors to be accompanied by an adult during evening hours. The incident has raised concerns among local shoppers, though many expressed that they continue to feel the location is generally safe. The investigation into the roles of the other individuals involved is continuing. This incident follows other high-profile events in recent years involving groups of juveniles in the area, although police data indicates that crime in Towson has recently been trending downward.
5 challenging incidents covered already, Jessica. It's a review that spans coast to coast, from officer-involved shootings in California to the mall assault in Maryland.
It certainly is. We are going to take a brief pause. When we return, we will continue our verified breakdown of the week's critical developments. You're listening to True Crime Headline News.
The Houston Police Department in Texas has announced that a suspect has been arrested and charged in connection with a fatal shooting that occurred on Monday, November 10th, 2025. The incident took place at approximately 9:25 p.m. at an address in the 4600 block of Sunflower Street.
According to the official news release, Houston Police Department patrol officers initially responded to a call reporting a shooting at that location. Upon arrival, they located a male suffering from a gunshot wound. Paramedics from the Houston Fire Department were dispatched to the scene and provided medical assistance. They transported the male to an area hospital. Unfortunately, doctors at the hospital pronounced the man deceased. The victim was later identified as 34-year-old Brenton Griffin.
Detectives from the Houston Police Department Homicide Division were assigned to the case. Their subsequent investigation led them to identify a suspect in the fatal shooting. The suspect, identified as 60-year-old Roxanne Albert, was located and arrested. A booking photo of Albert was attached to the department's news release. After the arrest, the Houston Police Department consulted with the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Following this consultation, charges were filed against the suspect.
Roxanne Albert is formally charged with murder. Court records indicate the charge was filed in the 182nd Criminal District Court. The relationship between the suspect and the victim, Mr. Griffin, was not detailed in the initial press release, nor were the specific circumstances or motive leading to the shooting. The investigation is considered ongoing. The Houston Police Department Homicide Division is urging anyone with additional information about this case to contact them directly. This arrest and charge mark the latest development in the case, which moved from an initial patrol response to a full homicide investigation and subsequent charging, all within approximately 48 hours of the incident occurring. The department continues to gather evidence and interview potential witnesses to build a complete picture of the events that transpired on Sunflower Street.
A major legal development has occurred in the case of an Ohio warehouse mass shooting that took place earlier in 2025. The suspect, Bruce Foster III, has entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. The filing for this plea was processed in the Licking County Court of Common Pleas on November 6, 2025. This legal action serves as the recent anchor for this case, which involves an incident that occurred in February.
Mr. Foster is accused of fatally shooting 2 of his co-workers and injuring 4 others at the KDC-1 warehouse in New Albany, Ohio. The 2 victims who died in the shooting were identified as Kyle Vaver, who was 38, and Shekhar Chapagai, who was 30. The insanity plea entered on November 6th follows a recent psychiatric evaluation hearing held to determine if Mr. Foster was competent to stand trial. This issue of competency has been a central point in the legal proceedings.
A forensic psychologist who had previously examined Mr. Foster testified at the hearing. In the psychologist's opinion, the defendant understands the nature of the legal proceedings against him and is capable of assisting his attorney in his own defense. This evaluation followed a period of court-ordered hospitalization for Mr. Foster, which began after he was found unfit to stand trial back in May. Since that ruling, he has been receiving treatment at Central Ohio Behavioral Health Care. However, despite the psychologist's recent testimony, Mr. Foster's attorney, Brandon Schroy, argued that his client is still unable to meaningfully participate in his own case.
Given the conflicting positions, the judge has ordered a new psychiatric evaluation. After this new assessment is completed, another report will be submitted to the court. This process could take several weeks. Once the Licking County Court of Common Pleas receives these new findings, the judge will make a final decision on whether Mr. Foster is mentally competent to proceed to trial on the charges related to the warehouse shooting. This decision is separate from the not guilty by reason of insanity plea, which addresses the defendant's state of mind at the time of the offense rather than his current ability to understand the court proceedings.
A significant legal conclusion was reached in an Oregon court this week, anchoring a case from 2023 involving a plot to commit a mass shooting. On Monday, November 10, 2025, 41-year-old Samson Garner of Portland was sentenced to 3 decades in prison. This sentencing follows his conviction in September, when a jury in Deschutes County found him guilty on 26 felony charges, including attempted murder in the first degree.
The case originated in October 2023, 2 years prior to the sentencing. Garner was arrested at that time based on tips received by Portland police regarding his plan to carry out a violent attack. The target of the planned attack was the Smith Rock Cragun Classic, a popular and well-attended climbing festival held at Smith Rock State Park, located near Bend in Central Oregon.
Garner's plan, as detailed in court proceedings, was to rampage through the event and shoot random people. Law enforcement in Deschutes County acted on the information and arrested Garner in a trailhead parking lot outside the town of Tumalo. At the time of his arrest, police reported finding a significant cache of weapons in his vehicle. This included an AR-15, 2 handguns, ammunition, and a tactical vest that was outfitted with bullets.
The trial, which took place in the Deschutes County Circuit Court, concluded with the jury finding Garner guilty on all 26 felony counts. These charges included multiple counts of attempted murder in the first degree, attempted assault with a firearm, and unlawful use of a weapon. During the trial, Garner testified, and evidence was presented regarding his life circumstances and mindset leading up to the 2023 arrest. Following the sentencing on Monday, Portland Police Chief Bob Day praised the diligent work of law enforcement. He stated that their actions, prompted by tips, had prevented what could have been a horrific tragedy at the climbing event. The 30-year sentence handed down by the court concludes the legal proceedings against Garner, closing a case that began with his arrest 2 years prior and validating the concerns of those who reported the plot to authorities.
Police on Long Island, New York, have made an arrest in connection with the fatal stabbing of a teenager at a house party. The arrest, announced on Monday, November 10, 2025, anchors the investigation into the incident, which occurred on November 3rd. Suffolk County Police stated that a 17-year-old male from Syosset has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder.
The charge is related to the death of 15-year-old Liam DeLemo, who was fatally stabbed at the party in West Babylon. According to police, the party was attended by a large group, estimated to be between 90 and 100 teenagers. The event was held late at night on November 3rd, outside a residence on Carlton Road. Authorities report that a fight broke out during the gathering, which ultimately led to the stabbing of Liam DeLemo. Mr. DeLemo was an 11th grade honor roll student.
The victim's father spoke to media, stating, "My son is laid out on a deck, bleeding, basically, at that point, to death." In the immediate aftermath, the local school hosted a vigil in memory of Liam DeLemo, which occurred the day after his death. The community has been closely following the case, leading to the arrest announced on Monday. The investigation has also resulted in a separate, non-violent charge against the homeowner.
Police previously arrested Bonnie Miranda, the grandmother of the teen who hosted the party. Authorities said she allegedly allowed her grandchild to host the large gathering. Miranda was charged with violating the county's social host law and endangering the welfare of a child. These charges are separate from the homicide investigation. The victim's father, while grieving, specified that he did not hold the homeowner responsible for his son's death, distinguishing between the hosting of the party and the violent act that occurred.
The 17-year-old suspect charged with the murder is being processed through the justice system. Due to the suspect's age, his name has not been broadly released in all reports, consistent with policies regarding minors in the criminal justice system, even when charged with serious felonies. The Suffolk County Police investigation is continuing as they process the evidence from the scene and statements from the numerous party attendees.
Authorities in Murrieta, California, have arrested a suspect in connection with a stabbing that occurred on Halloween night, leaving a man in critical condition. The arrest, which took place on November 6, 2025, is a major development anchoring this older incident. The original assault occurred late on Halloween night, October 31st.
Murrieta police were called to the intersection of Margarita Road and Torrey Pines Road shortly before 11 p.m. after receiving reports of a serious assault. According to the department's news release, an altercation took place at that location between two male subjects. As a result of the confrontation, one individual sustained multiple serious injuries, which were later specified as multiple stab wounds. The victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment.
As of November 6th, the day of the arrest, the victim remained in critical condition.
In the days following the stabbing, Murrieta police searched the area extensively, but were initially unable to locate a suspect. The department then issued a public request for information, which included sharing a photograph of the suspect. This request proved critical to the investigation. On Thursday, November 6th, Murrieta Police Department detectives were able to positively identify a suspect based on information received from the public.
The suspect was located at a residence in Yermo, California, a town in San Bernardino County, east of Barstow. He was taken into custody by authorities at that location. The suspect has been identified as 35-year-old Temecula resident Matthew McMahon. Following his arrest, McMahon was booked at the Coys Bird Detention Center. He faces charges of attempted homicide and assault with a deadly weapon. The Murrieta Police Department is asking anyone who may have additional information about the Halloween night incident to contact their investigators as the case continues to move forward through the legal system following this key arrest.
We are back. Before the break, we covered the arrest in the Murrieta Halloween stabbing. We have 5 final verified incidents to review in this last segment of the broadcast.
And just a reminder for our listeners, we are focusing only on the established facts from official sources and vetted reports. Let's move on to the next headline in Alpine, California.
The California Department of Justice, under the direction of Attorney General Rob Bonta, has announced it is investigating an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Alpine, California. This investigation is being conducted pursuant to Assembly Bill 1506, a state law that mandates independent state-level reviews of certain officer-involved shootings. The press release announcing the investigation was issued on Thursday, November 6, 2025.
The incident in question occurred in Alpine, a community in San Diego County, on Wednesday, November 5, 2025, at approximately 7:30 p.m. The officer-involved shooting involved personnel from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. According to the Attorney General's announcement, the incident resulted in the death of one individual. Following the incident, the California Department of Justice was notified by local authorities, which triggered the state-level response mandated by law.
The department's California Police Shooting Investigation Team initiated an investigation in accordance with the requirements of Assembly Bill 1506. This law specifically requires the State Department of Justice to investigate all incidents of officer-involved shootings that result in the death of an unarmed civilian. The press release did not specify the status of the civilian in this particular case, only that the AB 1506 protocol was being activated.
The Attorney General's office was careful to note that the information provided in its November 6th release was based on preliminary details and that the information may evolve as the investigation continues. The state's investigation will run parallel to any internal investigation conducted by the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. Upon the completion of the California Department of Justice's investigation, its findings will be turned over to the department's Special Prosecutions Section, which falls within the Criminal Law Division, for an independent review. This process is standard for such incidents under California law, ensuring an external prosecutorial review of the facts and evidence. The Attorney General's office has asked any members of the public who may have information related to this officer-involved shooting to contact their investigation team.
The New Jersey Attorney General's office is conducting an investigation into a police-involved shooting that took place in Orange, New Jersey. The investigation was announced in a press release on November 9, 2025. The incident under review reportedly involved a vehicular pursuit and resulted in one person being injured.
The investigation is being handled by the Attorney General's Office of Public Integrity and Accountability, or OPIA. This body is responsible for investigating police-involved shootings and other serious incidents involving law enforcement in the state. According to the press release, the investigation is being conducted in accordance with Attorney General Directive 2019-4, also known as the Independent Prosecutor Directive. This directive establishes a multi-step protocol to ensure the independence of investigations into fatal police encounters and other serious use of force incidents. The OPIA also serves as the default independent investigator for incidents that involve the New Jersey State Police.
Details about the specific incident in Orange were limited in the initial announcement, which is common in the early stages of independent investigations. The release confirmed that the incident involved a police-involved shooting following a vehicular pursuit in Orange Township, which is located in Essex County. The statement did not specify which police department was involved in the pursuit or the shooting, nor did it detail the circumstances that led to the pursuit. The statement also did not identify the individual who was shot or the current status of their condition, other than confirming a non-fatal injury.
The Office of Public Integrity and Accountability's investigation will be comprehensive. These reviews typically involve interviewing witnesses, including the officers involved and any civilians present, analyzing forensic evidence from the scene, and reviewing all available video footage, such as body-worn camera or dashcam recordings. The objective is to determine the facts of the incident and to assess whether the use of force was consistent with state law and departmental policy. At the conclusion of the investigation, the findings are presented to a grand jury to determine if criminal charges are warranted.
Federal authorities have reported an arrest in Chicago, Illinois, related to an incident described as a shooting targeting Border Patrol agents. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, announced the development in a post on November 10, 2025. According to the official DHS statement, a man described as a criminal illegal alien from Mexico was arrested in connection with the shooting, which occurred on Saturday, November 8th.
The DHS post provided some background on the arrested individual, claiming he had previous convictions for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon or vehicle, felony possession of a weapon, and illegal entry. The department also stated that the man is currently marked as a violator of the Laken-Riley Act. Charges against the suspect related to the Saturday shooting are reportedly pending. Local officials and media outlets have been seeking to confirm the details of the arrest and the incident. CBS Chicago reported that they had reached out to the Chicago Police Department, or CPD, for confirmation that this federal arrest is the same one related to their local investigation, but they were awaiting a response.
The circumstances surrounding the federal agent's presence in the subsequent arrest have drawn comment from local community representatives. Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez of the 25th Ward, which includes the Little Village neighborhood where the incident occurred, stated that multiple people were detained during the day's operations. He described one such detainment near 23rd and Sawyer, where he alleged that federal agents smashed a car window and dragged a man out of the vehicle while his 11-year-old son was present. Alderman Cicho Lopez criticized the actions of the Border Patrol agents, suggesting their operations were creating a hazardous situation in the neighborhood.
The incident highlights the complex interplay between federal immigration enforcement and local policing. The investigation into the shooting itself is ongoing, as are the pending federal charges against the arrested suspect. The Chicago Police Department's potential involvement and the details of the original shooting incident on Saturday are still being clarified as federal and local authorities proceed with their respective investigations.
Authorities in Riverside County, California, have made an arrest in a fatal shooting that occurred in Jurupa Valley on Wednesday, November 5, 2025. On Saturday, November 8th, deputies arrested a 16-year-old male suspect in connection with the homicide.
According to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, deputies were initially called to the 5900 block of Sheelight Street at approximately 9:15 p.m. on Wednesday. The call was for reports of an assault with a deadly weapon in that area. When deputies arrived at the scene, they located one victim, a 17-year-old male who was suffering from a gunshot wound. Emergency medical services were rendered at the scene, and the 17-year-old victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment. Tragically, the sheriff's office confirmed that the victim later died from his injuries at the hospital.
Following the incident, investigators from the Riverside County Sheriff's Office began working the case. Their investigation led them to identify the 16-year-old male as the suspect. On Saturday, November 8th, deputies located and arrested the juvenile suspect in Jurupa Valley. He was subsequently booked at Riverside Juvenile Hall on suspicion of murder.
Due to the age of both the suspect, who is 16, and the victim, who was 17, authorities have not disclosed the identities of either individual. This withholding of names is standard procedure in many jurisdictions when dealing with cases that exclusively involve minors, even in instances of serious violent crime. The Sheriff's Department did not release any information regarding a potential motive for the shooting or the circumstances that led to the assault with a deadly weapon. The relationship between the suspect and the victim was also not specified in the public release.
The Riverside County Sheriff's Office has stated that the investigation is still active. They are asking anyone who might have additional information about the incident on Kalmia Street to contact the investigators at the department's homicide unit. The case will now proceed through the juvenile justice system unless a determination is made by prosecutors to charge the 16-year-old suspect as an adult, a process which would involve court hearings to assess the severity of the crime and the suspect's history.
A significant legal development was reported from Peoria County, Illinois, on November 12, 2025. Authorities announced that a 25-year-old man, Anthony D. Morris, pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery. This plea is the anchoring development for an armed robbery incident that occurred earlier in the year, on February 14, 2025.
The original incident involved a home invasion-style robbery. On that date, police responded to a report of an armed robbery at the Lexington Hills apartment complex. Upon their arrival, the victims reported that they had heard a knock on their apartment door. When they opened it, they were met by two men. One of the men, identified as Morris, was armed with a gun.
According to the report, Morris pushed the door open and forced himself inside the apartment. Once inside, Morris allegedly held a gun to the head of one of the occupants. He then demanded the victim's phone, car keys, credit cards, and jacket. The property was stolen, and the two men fled the scene. The second man involved in the incident was later identified as Haywood Drummond. Mr. Drummond's case was resolved earlier. He pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery in September 2025 and was sentenced to 6.5 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections.
On November 12th, Anthony D. Morris entered his own guilty plea. In exchange for his plea to the charge of aggravated robbery, the state agreed to dismiss the remaining charges that had been filed against him. As part of this plea agreement, the prosecution also agreed to a maximum possible sentence of 12 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. This sentencing cap provides a defined limit on the potential penalty Morris will face. The case is now moving to its final phase. The sentencing hearing for Anthony D. Morris has been set for January 9, 2026. At that time, a judge will hear arguments from both the prosecution and the defense and will formally impose a sentence, adhering to the terms of the plea agreement.
Those are the 15 verified headlines we're tracking. For True Crime Headline News, I'm Chris Adams.
And I'm Jessica Reed. Thanks for listening.